Kuhle, I'm your host, Kuhle Maseko. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I decided that let me shoot a live today, a little something different from what we usually do. Um, I thought to myself that this is something that makes sense, because let's just be honest. Our president has really tanked South Africa. South Africa is a land that has lost so much credibility amongst international people, especially here in Africa. And that is because of the sheer disrespect the ANC has for South Africans. It's one of those very shocking things, if one has to be honest, is the level of disrespect that the ANC has for South Africans. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our President Cyril Ramaphosa has now put together what will be a national dialogue. This national dialogue is just another Boswell circus where he'll be getting around a bunch of his grand tender gurus to really just come and create ideas that are not even there. Ideas that are just a facade and just to tell us about the problems all over again. The ANC is so good at creating false ideas of progress. They're always like, we are looking into it. We will see what's going to happen. And from there on, we will assess and blah. That's the ANC for you. And the most shocking thing is the fact that there are people that still vote for these clowns. It really boggles the mind. I mean, any form of transformation agenda Cyril and his useless government bring about, the only thing that it does is to create more poverty. When BE it was started in a way that it fooled Black people. And what I mean when I say fooled Black people, it was said, this is economic empowerment. This is what you need to grow. You know, um, in order for you to become successful and compete with the white guy in PwC who is the chartered accountant, let us create, systems that allow you to get in and somehow grow. Well, I'm here to say bullshit. ANC has killed South Africa. And they've killed Black people more than the apartheid government did. Do you know Hendrik Verwoerd probably loved Black people more than Ramaphosa does? It's the truth. He probably did. Because during apartheid, yes, I'm young, not to know, the peak times of apartheid, but I'll tell you one thing that I'm sure about. The RDP that was built during apartheid is still standing today. But the RDP that was built by Shona Mkhize and her cronies, her tender buddies and cronies, is falling apart in Umlazi. And those are real stories. Those are not things that I'm making up and, saying, because I hate the ANC. It's the realities. That's what's happening. And no one is saying anything about it. The fact that Black people abuse each other more than white people. It's a reality. It's a reality. And then you've got the Black politicians, Ramaphosa and his cabal of very evil, communistic people like Julius Malema, Floyd Shivambu, and Jacob Zuma, who ride on this wave of racism. It's disgusting. They will tell you how much you need to hate the white guy, how much you need BE, how much you need more, equity law, how much you need XYZ. But I'm here to tell you bullshit. It's utter crap. You know, I took a trip the other day to a township in in Pretoria called Ethos. Now, this township is a colored township, and I went there with a good friend called Liam Jacobs, the member of parliament. And I saw how much faith they put into this guy, you know. And I got there, and one auntie says to me, Kuhle, you know what's the issue with black politicians? I start to become a little bit shaky. I'm like, what is she going to say to me? She says, black politicians have abandoned the colored people. She says they have abandoned the Indian people. And she says they've also abandoned the white people. And as she continues, she says, but you know, if you're black, you don't have things that bad. But I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to say we're all in the same boat in terms of badness or how bad things get for us. But I'm here to tell you that what she mentioned was true. But I'm also here to tell you that the ANC thrives on fooling you, black child. They thrive on racial division. They thrive on these little gimmicks of, yeah, no, you know what? We're looking into this thing. Let's see what we can do. You know what? There's this thing called the BELA Bill. It's the biggest trash thing that ever existed in the education sector. You know that BELA Bill? Everyone thought it was a way to scrap Afrikaans. Well, bullshit, it wasn't. The BELA Bill was a way of actually allowing illegal foreign nationals to come into South African schools. That's what it did. And you know who it affects the most? It affects you who stays in Khayelitsha. It affects you who stays in Soweto. It affects you who stays in Mamelodi. It affects you who stays in Diepsloot. But, the moment the white guy tells you something, oh no, he's racist, cock and bull. I'm here to tell you that is cock and bull. It is high time that we wake up as black people and realize who the real criminals are. Somebody's going to tell them that they are criminals. Setting up, you know, get so angry, you know, setting up nonsense such as BELA Bill. Yeah, Panyaza Lusufi championed this shit called BELA Bill. One of the most irritating laws that I've ever seen. You know, he set up this rubbish that is not doing anything to improve the education sector. He forced Ramaphosa to sign this rubbish that is affecting black people. You know, everyone thought it's going to affect white people. Now we're doing this to get at white people, you know. That's the mentality. Now, Sizwe is sitting with his child at home. His child can't go to school because there's a Zimbabwean whose child came here illegally and is going to school because the BELA Bill allows it to happen. Not just that is, where is the South African Human Rights Commission? You know, the South African Human Rights Commission was so good at holding foreigners to account. But when Julius Malema Sings killed the bull, the SA Human Rights Commission, no, you know, we need to look at this. But they are not as enthusiastic about Kill the Bull as they were about Elias, who was some Zimbabwean foreign national that got killed somewhere in Diepsloot. But with Kill the Bull, there's a lack of enthusiasm. The bottom line is Kill the Bull is a genocidal song. It is a song of hate. It is a song that promotes killing, whether you like it or you don't. Whether you're communist or you're capitalist, I don't give a damn. But it promotes killing. You know, during election season, there are always these apartheid movies that come out reminding black people why the hell you have to vote for ANC. But if you watch those movies very well, you will realize white people never had songs that said slit the black man's throat, even during the pits of apartheid. That never happened. There was no white person, no, let's get to, you know, Khayelitsha and, you know, slit someone's throat. That never happened. But we saw this happening in townships where largely, of course, it was black people that lived there. Now, one obviously would look at the circumstance of the time to say, okay, perhaps it makes sense to sing it during those days. That's a debate for another day. But one has got to condemn Julius Malema. If Ramaphosa won't deal with Julius Malema, perhaps it's time we take him to the ICJ for hate crimes. Perhaps it's time he faces the music for his racism, because no one is going to do it. Everyone is sitting and allowing this racist man, this rude man, this divisive man, this colonial mindset stuck in the past, to just say whatever crap and spew whatever piece of hatred comes from his mouth. And then we've got a president who just sits there at the White House and sits as if he's sitting on a Bradlow sofa. He just watches the screen. Pathetic. South Africa lacks leadership. We lack leadership. And no one is prepared to tell Ramaphosa and the communist cabal. Another crazy story has to be the fact that the ANC, who keeps on bashing the private sector, the EFF, keep on bashing the private sector, also will come back and say, no, the private sector is not creating jobs. The private sector is wiping out capital. The private sector is all this and all that. And thanks for the private sector for sticking it out and really hiring South Africans. But we need to be honest. The ANC is not a going concern. The ANC need to be punished. And if it means they need to be sanctioned, let it be. If it means we need to put sanctions on Julius Malema, let it be. Do you know, in KwaZulu-Natal, there's a Department of Education, subject to correction, which had what they call loans to staff. Now, before you get this wrong, there's what they call staff loans. And this was actually relayed to me by a very close friend of mine who is in part of government and is part of the DA, who says to me, Kuhle, there's something called staff loans in the KZN Department of Education. And he says, you only get to access this information as soon as you get into government. And I said, okay, cool. So was the government giving staff members loans? He says, no, they weren't. What was actually happening was the government was continuing to pay people that were no longer in the system, and they would do this illegally. So what would happen was someone had died, God knows whenever they died, or someone has resigned, or someone has gone wherever they've gone to, and boom, the system still records them, the system is still paying this particular individual. Now, this raises the question of saying, why the hell did the ANC have such shitty systems that couldn't pick up that such is happening? This goes to say, why on earth did Enoch and his merry crew want to increase VAT for us citizens, while that could have been mitigated by cutting on the fruitless expenditure? Another point is, in KwaZulu-Natal, and I'll come back to Gauteng, in KwaZulu-Natal, the government, and this is all related, the secret is the government owns more than 4,000 properties. Yet again, subject to correction, but they only use less than 500, if I'm not mistaken. And what I heard was there's a conversation of why not just cut the amount of properties the government has. Let us either we cut the properties or we stop leasing out buildings, which makes sense because the government has got a tendency of leasing out buildings, and paying 4 million for God knows whatever building in town bought by some company, And now there's this thought of, okay, perhaps, and this is what the new administration need to highlight, perhaps we either keep these buildings and we stop these leases, we end the leases with these tender BEE racist comrades, the side, and we've got a new building here that we can use, or we sell these buildings in order to generate revenue. But not in the infinite wisdom of our government. only thing our government knows is to increase tax for you, and to create a state that relies on welfare. I don't know, is it just me, or aren't black people tired of living off SASA? I mean, don't you become ashamed that you have become subjects of the government? Your daily bread relies on a couple of taxpayers. It's the most ridiculous thing. A society is being built off welfare, taxes going up for us as the middle class, the people in the upper echelon, that tax base is decreasing, the middle class is rapidly decreasing, unemployment is increasing. The more bad is happening than the more good. And yet the ANC still think it's right to have more transformation agendas. Who are they fooling? Me? Hell no. I'm awake. I know what's going on. There's 100 billion rand transformation budget. You know, the 100 billion rand transformation budget is one of the most controversial, one of the most crooked things to ever come to South Africa this year. No. That 100 billion rand transformation budget is a looting scheme. That budget is going to be set for black tenderpreneurs to go and get money every fucking year for the next 5 years. These guys are trying to pull a fast one and no one is saying a thing about it. It's 20 billion rand every year going to a bunch of tenderpreneurs, a bunch of racist, BE, thieving crooks. I'm at the point where I'm just so pissed with South Africa. I'm really just at the point where I'm just, through the roof when it comes to South Africa. 20 billion rand going to what? There is no successful business that was ever built of handouts. Do you know how Sanlam was built? Sanlam was built by Afrikaners that learned from, that actually went to Old Mutual, which was owned by the English. And they asked the English, they said, rather teach us how to run an insurance company. That is how Sanlam and Santam were built. That is how they were built. But the ANC does not have the same idea that many other people have when it comes to building organizations. The ANC believes they can tell you, hire that black guy. And in fact, not just hire any black guy, hire my friend. It's pathetic. It's bullshit. And no one's calling it out. It's just one of those things that just gets someone so pissed. Is the fact that as a black person, you are made to seem as the most incompetent guy under the sun. You are made to seem as the fool. You are made to seem as this guy that just basically is so stupid that, we've got to make the requirements a lot easier for him just to get in. And that's how it's presented to you. But in reality, that's not it. It's the fact that BE was created for tender-stealing comrades that were going to use tenders to get in and own a percentage of your company and tell you how to run your company while they've never had experience of running a spaza shop. Another thing is local government elections is coming up next year. And it's no secret that Helen Zille will most likely be the candidate for the DA, in which I will be voting for. I'm not ashamed to say that I'll be voting for Helen Zille in next year's election, and I'm proud of that. Because for me, I have given up on this term of progressive and black parties. I've never been a fan of them from day one. I've never really been a fan of them. For those of you, you know that I came from Action SA and I left Action SA. I actually left Action SA as soon as Mashaba turned the corner and removed Stelius Brink as mayor of Tshwane, and I was a key member in Action SA. That is actually how I got involved in speaking about politics. Now, the thing is that one thing that I've learned from my time in politics, it is so easy for politicians, especially, let's not lie, for the call them black politicians, and I'm using that term very carefully because I'm also black, but for them to change, for them to turn the corner and throw away what is logical sense because of one bad election and think that let me join the race baiting idiots and become part of this merry crew that sings BE, that sings transformation, that sings yes, we need BELA Bill, yes, we need NHI, yes, we need EWC. South Africa is becoming a more communist country by the day. And what are our Western allies doing about it? Thank you to Donald Trump for holding Ramaphosa to account about the white genocide. Thank you. I, for one, believe that there is an unspoken genocide happening in South Africa. I really do think it's going. I really do think it's happening, and no one is ready to admit it. But it is happening. These lies that crime happens to all people. That's what Zingisa. What's the name? Zingisa Lose of what you call it, of Kossatu had to say. We are raping everyone. We are everyone. We are whatever to everyone is bullshit. I'm here to tell you that South Africa is a country with talented people, a country with black and white ready to hold hands. The only thing that is stopping us are these fucking racist politicians. They're the ones that are stopping us. We were the only country to go to the White House and not receive an investment commitment from the US. The US, within all countries that have gone to the White House, outside of Zelensky, all countries that have gone to the White House, within 6 days, were able to get commitment of investment from US companies. We were the only idiots that landed there and looked like fools saying, crime happens to every fucking person in South Africa. And yet, while we speak about crime happening to everyone, our president still has the goal to say, oh no, please, Donald Trump, could you invest in South Africa? Could you please, man? If you could create more jobs, there would be less crime. That's what he says. He thinks he can fool Donald Trump. Yeah, create more jobs. Yeah, you in the West, you, the same guy I told you, you keep your White House. You keep your White House. That's what he said. I'm not making it up. There's a video. He says, you keep your White House. Doing it with the same expressions. You, Donald Trump, you keep your White House. You were not here when we fought apartheid. That whole speech of his. I so wished Donald Trump played that video. I really, I was praying to God that please, Donald, please. The lady's name was Natasha, the one who said dim the lights, I was like, Natasha, please, I hope that video was included. Where he says, you, Donald Trump, you keep your White House. The same guy that's saying you keep your White House is saying, please invest. Which one is it, Ramaphosa? Ramaphosa is a two-faced person. He's the same as Julius Malema. He's the type of guy that twerks for anyone who's ready to throw money at him. By the way, John, thank you for the 35 Rand. It keeps the truth alive. It helps us keep the truth on fire. It really does. It helps us keep the lights on, and it does a lot. So thanks for the 35, John. As well as, back to what we're saying is, Ramaphosa and Malema are just people that twerk for whoever's ready to give them money. It's no secret that the ANC is funded by Iran. Now, this video is going to be me basically sharing my political insight, of course, being a politician on the side, but now being a political commentator. It's no secret that the ANC is funded by these people that forced us to take Israel to the ICJ. Now, I've got one, not Israel to ICJ. I've got one question. If it is so right to defend Palestine, why didn't the other Islamic neighbors who are right there at Palestine's doorstep, like Saudi, like the UAE, like um, Yemen, or Lebanon, take Israel to ICJ. Why did it have to be us, a country thousands of kilometers away? Why did it have to be us? Why the hell did it have to be us? You sort of asked the question. It's a logical question. It's like going back to school, Another child is fighting with someone else, friends are fighting over there. Instead of the friends intervening in the group fight, the outsider, goes and intervenes. Where the hell are you to go and intervene? By the way, Fansel, thank you so much for the £5. It really keeps the truth on fire. Thank you so much. It keeps us alive and helps to keep the lights on, as I've been saying. As well as to Gert, Jansen van Rensburg, Baya, Donkey Meidut. I'm very grateful for the 70 Rand. Same story. Now, you ask yourself, why is South Africa taking Israel to the ICJ? It's a logical question. Why on earth is this happening? I'm going to give you an answer right now. But just go with me. And I need you to listen very carefully to the story. Now, South Africa has got an issue with neighbors Mozambique. There's an issue, Copper Delgado, and I'm going to link this back to Israel and the Islamists and whatever's going on. Believe me when I tell you, the Mozambican government enjoys what's happening in Copper Delgado, because they are making money from the whole gas and Total issue there. They will come back and tell the Mozambicans that, these white people want to take your gas. The same thing that terrorists are doing. They want to take your gas. They want to take your minerals. It's the same thing that the South African government does. It's a plan. Now, these guys that are up there in Copper Delgado doing all this shit, killing innocent civilians and black civilians, told you, black people hate each other. And no one wants to accept it, but I'll tell you, black people disrespect each other and they hate each other. Now, what's happening is, they're in Copper Delgado, they allow that rubbish to go on. Instead of dealing with Copper Delgado, they jump seas and oceans. They jump the Somali pirates in Somalia. They jump, what's the place? Tigray in Ethiopia. They jump Tigray in Ethiopia, and boom, they end up in Israel. And what is happening is, it needed a front that fought apartheid, right? Because it's believed that the ANC were these saviors of black people that fought apartheid, and somehow we should all be grateful to them because, today I have a computer because somehow the ANC is in government. Hell no, I bought this computer myself. Now, what happens is, Iran realized the loophole. The best people to use is South Africa, because South Africa is an emerging economy. It's in Africa. It's the obvious choice when it comes to dealing with what they wanted to perceive there in the Middle East of Israel versus Palestine. Now they look, who's the loophole in government? They approach a lady called Naledi Pandor. Naledi Pandor is Muslim. I've dealt with people that work with Naledi Pandor before, and I don't have any issue with Muslim people. I need to highlight, I don't have any issue with Muslim people, because I don't want this to seem as if it's me hating on Muslim people. It really isn't. But I have to highlight that she's Muslim for a very important thing. Now, they approach Naledi Pandor with a huge offer. And and this is what I'm hearing, right? I hear this from the grapevines. They say they've approached this particular woman based on 1, 2, 3, her and the husband, to please go and convince Cyril Ramaphosa to take this case to the ICJ. You ask yourself, instead of South Africa partnering with proper countries like Israel, like Rwanda, we partner up with shit countries. South Africa has got a tendency of partnering up with the slow kid. And we civilians sit back and we're like, how the hell does this happen? To a normal person, you're like, why the hell would you copy from the stupid kid. We're writing a test, but why are we trusting the kid that gets 45% instead of trusting the kid that gets 87? Well, I'll tell you why. We're getting paid to do that. We are getting paid to do that. So now, also, before I get disturbed, thank you, Helen Dupree, for the $70. It really helps to keep the channel burning, helps us to keep the truth going. But as I was still saying, just before that, is what's going on is South Africa is being paid to take these stances that don't make sense. We went to the DRC, we fought with Paul Kagame. I, for one, see Paul Kagame as a benevolent dictator, but a benevolent dictator that has done great things for his people. Paul Kagame has done more things for Black Rwandans than the ANC has done for Black South Africans in his 20 years of being in charge. The ANC has had 30-something years of being in charge, but they still can't get it right. They really can't. The ANC really are just a repetition of failures. They just keep on failing, and they fail purposely. It's not that they really can't do it. It's the fact that they choose to fail. It's a choice, and that's how they make money. And we are so blinded by the fact. There are many issues that I sit here in my comfy chair because people say I'm being funded by white monopoly capital. People believe, like Nsiki Mazwai, who released a video this past week on me after I defended Donald Trump. I defended Benjamin Netanyahu, and they said I am funded by white monopoly capital. The bottom line is, I believe in the Judeo-Christian world, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I do believe in it. I do not hate Islamic people. I don't. In fact, I've got many Muslim friends. But I tell them the same thing. I stick to the values of Western democracy, the values of Judeo-Christian world, which is what we should be sticking to. But you've got a country like South Africa, which aligns itself with Islamic countries, which have got no form of identity to South Africa. You ask yourself, how do you align yourself with a country that believes in Sharia law? Like, my gosh, what type of doers do you have to be to align yourself with a country that believes in the total opposite thing? We fought against apartheid. Yeah, you get where we're going, right? We fought against apartheid. Now, the same thing that we fought against is the same thing that we're promoting by having these type of people. By working with these type of people. Pardon me, I was just reading a message here. Hence, I what do you call it? Hence, I had to just process what I was saying. But we are working with people that are they contradict what the ANC supposedly fought for, which was freedom and blah, blah, blah. We won't go into that. But we are merry friends with them. Instead of having strong partnerships with Benjamin Netanyahu, instead of having partnerships with such people and defeating these false states, these fake states that, and I'll be honest, a fake state, Palestine, a state that even the Islamists in the Middle East don't want. I will tell you something, and I was told this in confidence. I was told this in deep confidence, and I hope that someone can create a short out of this, because what I'm about to say is explosive. Now, I asked a question earlier on where I said, why don't the Middle Eastern countries support Palestine, in their fight against Israel? Now, I'll give you an answer. So the Saudis believe that the Palestinians are a law unto themselves. They believe that they are not the type of people that actually follow authority. You could compare them to the Afghanistanis with the Taliban and the rest. So the Saudis are very scared to actually allow for Palestine to actually exist as a country. And I'm saying this on confidence. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but I have got to say it. They actually don't want Palestine to actually be a country. Hence, they've been very mum about this. They actually would prefer for Palestine to actually be annulled, and just become a part of Israel and whatever is Palestine's neighbor on the other side. Now, the thing is, they know that the Palestinians are law unto themselves. The Palestinians are the same as the Taliban. The Palestinians are another Iran. They literally are. And no one is ready to tell you this. But that's what they are. They are another Iran. You've got to ask yourself, what happened on October 7th, if you remember? October 7th, a very important day to us in the Judeo-Christian world. This evil administration that governs Palestine, and one wants to speak about it. Hamas. This evil administration went and bombed parts of Jerusalem. Now, understand this very carefully. When this happened, one's got to ask the question, why do you bomb another country knowing that ability to protect yourself or to defend yourself against that country? Do you get where I'm going with this? Do you actually get where I'm going with this? Hamas enjoyed and destroyed Palestine. Many of these terrorist groups actually thrive on a country that is in jeopardy, on a country that is ruined, on a country that is an utter mess. And I'm linking this back to the ANC. The ANC thrive on chaos. The ANC can't live outside of chaos. They really can't operate outside of a bunch of black people being poor, as well as a bunch of white people being suppressed, and a bunch of white people being attacked by, unfortunately, blinded blacks. It's what's happening. So this is a state of chaos that is just being recreated. It's being recreated, and it's being recreated very smartly. Thank you, Jan van Sale, for the £3. We see you, we love you, God bless you as well. Now, come to EWC, which is expropriation without compensation. I would have loved for there to be more people watching this, because I'm going to explain how this EWC actually works. And I'm not explaining it on a guess situation. I'm not explaining it on an analysis situation. I'm explaining it on a factual situation. So, this EWC basically started by the government allowing for foreign nationals to come into South Africa, right? Illegal foreign nationals, especially the Nigerians. They would come to South Africa and hijack buildings in Hillbrow, hijack buildings in Sunnyside. You get the drift. You get where I'm going. They hijack buildings. The real owners of these buildings have now left these buildings. These buildings are now derelict. The owners of these buildings are somewhere in Europe. The owners of these buildings have given up running these buildings because, oh gosh, it's fucking expensive to deal with a hijacker who's a drug lord as well, because I'm risking my life and it's also going to cost me a lot of money. So the ANC works with these foreign nationals. Get me? Get where I'm going to. They allow this thing to happen. They work with these foreign nationals. They become friends, chums. Now, the agreement is, guys, what will we do? You will run down these buildings to a point where we say these buildings are uninhabitable. And then what will happen is we will have the race baiters like Julius Malema and Jacob Zuma and RET on the. They will sing the song of retransformation, the song of black people live in the townships, black people need to live in the city in order to get to work faster. You get where I'm going to. Now, after singing that song, there will be this perception of, in order for black people to acquire land or to live in the city, that's what they are running on, that perception. In order for them to acquire land or live in the city, let us start something called expropriation without compensation. Now, This expropriation without compensation, it would fall under 4 levels. So there was 4 clauses under this law, the EWC law of 2025. The one part says it deals with land that has not been used, so it's land that has been abandoned by the owner, therefore it's left derelict, and it's in the state's interest for them to take over. And that's why I come to the abandoned buildings. Remember, this is a big thing. Abandoned buildings. Highlight abandoned buildings. Now, they also speak about if it's in the public interest, let us take this land. Now, there are 2 big things I'll be talking about here. It's the public interest and these abandoned buildings. These are the 2 big loopholes that no one is telling you about. So the ANC government allow for these derelict buildings to happen and for crime and for the rest. You get where I'm going to. Then, unfortunately, opposition parties can't even oppose. Because you can see the crime happening in Hillbrow, you can see the crime happening in Sunnyside, you can see prostitution, you can see that there's just a brothel that is going on. This is a drug den. All these unsavory things are happening, right? So they say, guys, in order for us to mitigate this, let us take back these buildings. It's a real thing. Let us take back these buildings, and then we are going to hold these buildings and we're going to expropriate them without compensation. Therefore, we own more buildings. And I'm going to tell you the first place where this is going to happen. And I promise you my last cent on this. Expropriation without compensation is going to start in the city of Tshwane. It's going to start with the Actionist administration led by Dr. Nasipi Moya. What's going to happen is expropriation. They will expropriate buildings in places like Sunnyside, Marabastad, wherever it is in town, the CPD. You will expropriate these buildings for the belief of this is in public interest. They will expropriate the buildings and they will say, we're going to convert these buildings into student accommodation. That's what they're going to say. Believe me when I tell you. We're going to convert them into student accommodation. After doing that, they are going to give these buildings, this is real. They are going to give these buildings to what they call the private sector. Right, the private sector. After saying that they're going to give the buildings to the private sector, these buildings will be given to tender moguls in the city of Tshwane. It's going to happen. By the way, no one speaks about the fact that in Tshwane House, which is the office of the municipalities in the city of Tshwane, there are ANC cadres that come walking through day in and day out. They walk in and out of those offices, and no one is speaking about these things. But that is the level of corruption that is happening in the city of Tshwane. So you're going to have these guys expropriating buildings, giving it to tenderpreneurs. And then when it comes to public interest, the public interest, what stops the government from saying, oh gosh, let me use someone in the comments, Jan van Sale, thank you for £3. What stops the government from saying, Jan, your house is in the middle of a plot, it's in between a township and a suburb, What stops them from saying, we want to build a highway, therefore we are going to expropriate you. And we see it in the public interest that we need to remove your house, we need to acquire your house as the state so that we can actually dilapidate your house and actually build this highway to link people from the township to the city. What stops them from doing that? You will go to court. Chances are the court is appointed by the JSC. The JSC is the same politicians that support the WC. It really, the majority of the JSC is that, Julius Malema, MK has got a seat there, a couple of ANC guys, and of course, the racist Actionist has got a seat there as well. And they appoint these judges that go to the High Court and Supreme Court and the rest. And of course, they will be forced to say, yeah, no, you've got to agree that this is this is going to happen. Because don't forget, in South Africa, we don't have a jury. We don't have a jury that votes on issues. It's our judge, which is appointed by the JSC. So Expropriation without compensation is coming. It's coming hot. And it's going to affect a lot of people. You must not only think it's going to affect white people, it's going to affect black people as well. You know, everyone thinks that everything the ANC does just affects white people. Trust me, it affects black people a lot. And black people don't realize this thing. They really don't. And that drives me to my wits' end. The fact that they just don't somehow, you know, comprehend that this actually affects me more than it affects the bro who lives down the street. So expropriation without compensation is coming. Donald Trump was correct to say that land is going to be taken. And Donald Trump didn't lie, by the way, when he said that the EFF have already taken land. You'll remember back in the years 2018, the EFF were in Midrand, in a place where they actually went and invaded land illegally and wanted to set up an informal settlement. But somehow we all forgot that happened. So Donald Trump actually didn't lie. That was a factual thing that happened. As well as we need to speak about NHI. Who remembers when Panyaza Lesufi, in his infinite wisdom, told a group of grannies that after NHI is signed into law, the NHI Bill is signed into law, you can go to Mediclinic and net care without anyone telling you to pay. He said that before elections. That's what he said before elections. I can even fetch the video for you. He said, this is what's going on. You guys can go into a private hospital and get healthcare. I don't know anyone without medical aid and without the resources that has gone into a private hospital and gotten healthcare. But no one is holding this man to account. No one is holding him to account. It's ridiculous, you know? It's as if we live in a movie and we're all unpaid actors. Because that's what he said to these group of grannies, and they clapped, you know, oh, Panyaza, our Panyaza, we love you so much. Wonderful guy. Best guy to come under the sun. Best guy God could have given us. None of them have gone to a private hospital, I promise you. NHI Bill is signed. The NHI is not feasible. The government does not have simple medication as Panado. Some public hospitals don't have simple medication as Panado. They don't have Illegit. But they expect me and you to cancel our medical aids. Yeah, cancel our medical aids and let us all gather at Leratong. Let us all gather at Charlotte Matleke. Let us all gather at Steve Biko Academic Hospital and stand in long lines and compete with foreign nationals to see who can get to see the doctor first. The point is, the NHI system has failed universally. In the UK, they use what is called NHS, and it takes weeks for pregnant women to just get to see a gynecologist. It takes them weeks, you know. It takes weeks for a child to get to see a pediatrician. It takes weeks to see a normal GP. And even if you get to see a normal GP, a doctor can only attend to you for 15 minutes. A doctor can't give you more than 15 minutes attention because there is a hella long line waiting for them. So I don't know what the racist ANC and failing ANC think that they can do that is different that the failed Tories have done in the UK, that the failed Labour and Conservative Party have done there. My hat goes off. It goes off to Nigel Farage and to Reform UK. Well done to them, because they are bringing back sanity to the United Kingdom. And I do believe that a movement like the Democratic Alliance is what we need to back. Parties such as the DA, parties that believe in the free markets, parties that believe in constitutionalism, are the parties that we need to back in order to grow South Africa. That's what we need to do. Those are the parties that we need to back to kill this woke idea that is going on in the UK, that is spewing the streets of the UK, killing the youth, that also nearly killed America before the great President Donald Trump came. I am a fan of Donald Trump, I won't lie. I really love Donald Trump. I, for one, wish that Donald Trump was the president of South Africa. I also somehow do wish that we had a guy like Paul Kagame. These are effective presidents, not these spineless wimps that we have in parliament, or should I say the Boswell circus. You know, spineless wimps that couldn't do more. You know, they are just so useless. Yeah. The only thing they know is to change names. They changed Rand Afrikaans University, Rand Afrikaans Universiteit, back in the 1990s to UJ. They changed it from Rao to UJ. They changed ML Sultan to Durban University of Technology. They changed University of Natal to University of UKZN. They changed, what else? UWC. They changed Port Elizabeth to Gqeberha. They are professionals in name changing. And somehow, by changing names, they create this belief in your head that they built this thing. While I'll tell you, they didn't build shit. They built nada. They built nothing. Everything that the ANC is destroying is what they found from apartheid. There's nothing that these guys have built. They are useless. There is nothing that these guys have built. They are completely useless. Now that Moreno wants to change the name of Lanseria Airport, International Airport, I told you, these guys are professionals at name changing, and they're professionals at setting up correction committees. They're professionals at setting up business lehutlas in dabas and bloated cabinets and VIP protection, and don't look me in the eye, I'm the minister. I've got pointy shoes. I have a business class plane to take me to my trip. Yeah. They are professionals at derailing our attention from the real issues. You know, black people in the townships are more concerned about what white people are doing than them being concerned about, I'm fucking unemployed. It's a real thing. They've become slaves to the ANC government. Somehow, oh yes, and I also see a very interesting comment, which I think I would love to touch on, which comes from Bernie Collins, which says, did you see ISIS wants to register as a party for the next election? And I actually did a video on this. I actually did a video on ISIS wanting to register for the next elections. And for me, it goes to speak about the ANC failed South Africans. The ANC has been infiltrated by the Islamic East, by these, not even the Islamic East. You know, there's nothing wrong with the Saudis and the UAE and the Sheikhs. In fact, I love them. Let them come in and invest. You know, but there's something wrong with Iran. There's something wrong with Afghanistan. There's something wrong with Palestine. And we've got to call them out. We've got to call them out because the ANC are these ass-licking, butt-licking people. That is what they are. Now, they are allowing for a party to be started. I won't mention the guy's name because I don't want to be sued, but you can read it. The articles are there. You know, it's a guy that's going to run with ISIS-backed money in Durban. He's going to start out in KZN. His hope is to get a couple of council seats. And trust me when I tell you, he'll probably be part of the coalition government. He'll probably be part of the coalition government next year in city of eThekwini, because we know the ANC are professionals at getting one-seat parties together. And even if he does not join the ANC, possibly he'll join Mkhonto Sizwe, because these are guys that are willing to sell their souls to the highest bidder. they are literally willing to sell their souls to anyone who's ready to say, twerk for money. It's the reality. I'm not making these things up. I don't make these things up. I'm commenting on what I see. So, um, what do you call it? Yeah, he's gonna start a party. He's gonna start a party backed with ISIS money. Chances are this party could be bigger than Al Jamaa. It really could be. And we've got a risk on our hands. And my hope is the US actually intervene and deal with this. Because I'm at the point where I believe that we need Western intervention in our country's affairs. I know every time, the US embassy and the Americans, it's like, we don't want to intervene with international affairs. But fuck's sakes, leave that stance, leave that whole thing of not intervening, and you've got to intervene. Because South Africa is going to the dogs. South Africa is being captured by Eastern countries that have got no idea of democracy, that have got no understanding of constitutionalism. The only thing they know is Sharia law, and if we tell you jump high, you better respond and say, how high? So that is what's happening in South Africa. That is what is going on in South Africa. And no one is ready to tell you like I am. I'm ready to tell you. And I do think that we're going to have these spaces more often, actually. Today is a Thursday. I actually enjoyed having these spaces. And I'm not saying we're ending the space now, so don't log off. But oh yes, I was just reading a comment now. I always want to read comments and make sure that I'm responding to comments. But yes, I do agree, Mary Mac. I really do agree with you. But what's going to happen is I think let's have these spaces every week, where we gather around and we just talk and have a general space where we get light-headed South Africans to discuss the reality of what's going on in South Africa. So, like I'm saying, going back to as what I've been saying, chances are still Ramaphosa won't finish his term. We've heard that before. The big worry that we should be worried about as South Africans is who is going to take over from this useless president. He's useless, but at least you can still afford a bag of rice. He might be useless, but fuck's sakes, at least I've still got my 3 slices of bread. Just saying. Now, whoever is going to take over from Ramaphosa, chances are this person might be anti-GNU. This person will favor a relationship with the RET faction. They will favor relationships with Iran, relationships with Afghanistan. Therefore, we will be heading into untraveled waters, an untraveled territory as a country. Because if you think Cyril Ramaphosa was bad, you ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. I'm using my American accent. You ain't seen nothing. Because these guys are a lot worse that are going to come in. They are ready to destroy the country. They have got no care for me and you. They are here to steal. That's all they are here to do. They are here to steal. They are here to take. They don't give a fuck about me or you. And they will do it by creating racial division. And if we don't stop this, one day there will be civil war in South Africa. It's my belief. We're heading towards a point where there will be civil war in South Africa. There will be a part where we will see a real genocide. If people are saying this is not a genocide that is going on now, trust me, when that happens, that will be something very real. That will be something where even CNN won't be able to defend South Africa. We'll see a real genocide. And I also wanted to say some big news. I think it's big news, and it's big news regarding me. You will know that 2 days ago we celebrated our anniversary as a channel. We, what do you call it? We celebrated our 1 month anniversary. People sent very lovely messages, and it meant a lot to see you guys, supporting and all sorts. But I wanted to share this huge announcement. And unfortunately, I see there are only 60 something people, but I wanted to say that I have officially thrown my hat into the race. And I've thrown my hat into the race to become a councillor in the city of Tshwane. And I've decided to throw my hat into the race on the ticket of the Democratic Alliance. So I wanted to be open and transparent to you guys about this because I believe in transparency. But I know people will ask, Kuhle, won't you become biased and favor the DA? And the answer is I won't. I've always been objective from day one, and I believe that I can talk, which is what I'm doing right now. I can share this beautiful information. We can gather every Thursday and chat and shout and complain about the country. But there's only so much that talking can do. But we require action. And while also throwing my hat into running the council, I'm doing this purely just to assist. I'm not. My plan is not to go into politics and to become some long-standing politician and to become and have a political career. No, it isn't. But it really just is to try and assist in solving South Africa's problems inside the ring and doing it actively inside the ring. I've tried before, and I tried in the previous administration with Silas Brink, and we did very well. And I'm trying again. So that is my contribution to South Africa. And trust me, for those that don't know, I'm into IT. I'm qualified into IT. I could go and look for a job somewhere else, and trust me, I could earn 3 times what they'll be paying me as a counselor. But because of my love for South Africa, I am ready to sacrifice all of that and fight for this country. And like I said, I'm not here to become a politician and stay till I'm 60. No, I'm here just to fight and to clean governance, to clean up government and to deal with maladministration that is happening in South Africa. Another thing is, many of you remember I said that we will be starting an organization, which is a lobby group, which I want us to deal with farm murders, because I believe farm murders is an unspoken truth that is happening in South Africa. And yes, we have made some headway with starting the organization and the lobby group. I've spoken to a bunch of key people, as well as a bunch of very prominent Black people about this idea, and they've bought into this idea. And yes, Mary Mac, thank you for also fighting. But also, I'm saying, this idea about dealing with farm murders, and this is exciting news. We will be launching an organization very soon. We will be launching, I'm so excited for this. We've got funding. I can't reveal our donors, but we've got funding. And I want to say that, please, if you want to be part of this exciting project of fighting farm murders, of fighting racial conflicts in South Africa, of fighting racism, and of dealing with communists and dealing with politicians like Julius Malema and taking them to court, please do reach out to me. Please do. I am begging you to reach out, because I can't do this without you. I need you guys to reach out. And please do reach out. I will give you information. I will add you to our groups. And we have got a name already. You remember I set up a poll about a name. So a name could come from that poll, or a name could come from somewhere else. But we've got a name, we've got a logo. We're preparing to go. In the next couple of weeks, we should be going, we should be on. And our plan is to build this organization. And this is really going to be an organization that will fight for you. It's going to fight for minorities. It's going to fight for South Africans that are not being heard. And trust me, that is all South Africans. Because you must not think because you vote for ANC, you're being heard. Because for fuck's sakes, you've got gravel outside your yard. You don't have a tarred street. So join us in this fight to fight these evil communists. And we've got very good relationships that we have established, I am saying this very carefully, with foreign governments. I will not mention which governments they are, but Western allies that are by dear and they are here to support us. And I can tell you, the days of these commies are numbered. The days of these communists are numbered. And I am personally going to stop them. I will stop them. I will be the guy that will push for us to cut cabinet. We cannot have a cabinet that has got 70 something people, out of 400 MPs, which means the chances of you becoming part of the cabinet is 25%, roughly, or close to 25%, or 20 odd percent. So I will be pushing a lot of things. We will be cutting the wage bill. And I will ensure that when I come in next year, this is what's going to happen. I'm being serious with you. And I will be doing it from the background. I won't be doing it from in front. I don't need their fancy positions. I don't need the blue lights to protect me from who? From what? The same people that love me, the same people that believe in me. No. I will be there to make sure that we stop this crooked communism, this crooked EFF, crooked MK, crooked ANC. And trust me, I will do it so well. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the end of today's live stream. I am so excited that I mentioned that big news. I got it off my chest. And as well as thank you to all of you who joined. We had many people joining. We had more than 100 people at once at some point in time, which is very exciting. It shows that people have got an appetite for the truth. So to everyone who sent super messages, thank you so much. You keep the fire burning. You really do. You really, really do. And I would just want to say to everyone else, God bless. And to us fellow Jews, I hope that you have a faithful Sabbath. And yeah, and to everyone else, I hope that you have a blessed week ahead. Enjoy church if you are part of the Christian denomination. If you're Jewish, like I said, have a faithful Sabbath like I will be having. As well as if you're Muslim, all the best tomorrow as you go to the mosque on Friday. So I believe in a religious country, hence I will touch on religion. I don't hide religion. So just wanted to say to all of you, God bless, stay safe, and shalom. Be safe. Thanks.